Do some QB quick reads. Adam Schefter. I think I've asked you this a time or two before. What in the world is going on with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh?
The answer remains the same. There still is no answer, Greeny, and the Steelers have a mini camp that opens on Monday, May 18th. If Aaron Rodgers is going to come back, you would figure that he would want to do it in time to work with his new head coach, Mike McCarthy, be signed and under contract by Monday. I think we're on the clock here, and I think we could hear something fairly soon.
Yeah, May 18th is 4 days from now, so we'll see what happens. D. Wood, let's talk about the Bengals. They have the third easiest strength of schedule heading into the season. Every other team in their division changed coaches. Is it Super Bowl or bust for Joe Burrow?
Absolutely. If not now, then when? I mean, you saw how active the Bengals were in free agency and the draft and addressing the defense. That's been the area that's been a nuisance to the Cincinnati Bengals. And if Joe Burrow stays healthy, this is a team that absolutely should contend in the AFC.
Nuisance is an excellent choice of words. Neek, Lamar Jackson, that's your guy. Is he set up to succeed without John Harbaugh?
Yeah, absolutely. Lamar Jackson, you kind of can count on what you're going to get from him, especially this new kind of Ben Johnson disciple offense where Declan Doyle is the new offensive coordinator. I think that'll pan out well. But the real question for the Ravens, I think, is how good will their defense be? Their defense, they've tried to address the pass rush with Hendrickson, and maybe they get Matabike back. If those things happen, I think this Ravens team will definitely be Super Bowl contenders.
Well, we heard from their general manager. I want you to hear that. The Ravens GM is Eric DeCosta. He was asked about how Lamar Jackson is looking heading into this season. Here's what he said.
Lamar is, honestly, just the most, in my opinion, the most talented player in the league. And I think he's excited, and we expect him to have a massive year this year. I think, and that was one of the things as we interviewed coaches, what made our job, I think, really, in my mind, one of the best jobs, maybe the best job, was Lamar, and having a chance to work with him. I think that, if anybody has a chance to get their third MVP this year, it's going to be Lamar Jackson.
That's Eric DeCosta. What's your reaction?
Listen, there are a few things here that are interesting. For the first time in maybe his entire NFL career, Lamar Jackson has been taking part in the entire offseason program. He's been there on a regular basis. He's been going through OTAs with the rest of the players. This time of the year, he's usually in Florida, but he's been in Baltimore. And I think that speaks to him knowing the importance of the season. And you heard Eric DeCosta there say he expects a massive year for Lamar Jackson. So maybe he's expecting the offseason work to carry over into the regular season in what could be another MVP year for Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, to say who could win their third MVP, I mean, he obviously has two, so that's that piece of it. But, Neek, I do think that is significant, the degree of ownership to which Lamar Jackson is taking of this entire situation. It really does make you wonder if it wasn't a little worse, the relationships that were left behind weren't a little worse than we knew publicly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those things that's really hard to measure, like the participation in the offseason program. But ultimately, we all rather have the guy there than not. Like, you all rather be together than apart. So I'm not sure what we can project based on the idea that he's going to be there offseason. But it's better than him not being there, especially with some young receivers that they brought in that they're hoping can contribute. I think having Lamar Jackson there, not only do they get extra work, it sets a tone for the whole organization that everyone needs to be here and everyone needs to be locked in. If our two-time MVP quarterback is here every day in Baltimore, we all should be.
That's what I mean. Like, to me, D. Wood, it's not about whether his being there means that they're going to be better on the field. His being there sends a message. His being there says, this is my team. I am the leader here. I'm here. Everybody follow me. I'm a part of this. I'm into this. I'm fully committed. That's what it takes from the best player. That's what it's taken from the best player in every sport that wins a championship since the beginning of time on every team. And that, I feel, is the message Lamar is sending, regardless of how much the actual on-field piece of it matters.
I remember earlier this offseason when teams were first reporting the OTAs, we were having this discussion like, will Lamar Jackson report? How big of a deal is it, that Declan Doyle is like sending a subliminal message like, hey, I expect you there. And then right after that, what did we see? Lamar Jackson showing up for the first day of OTAs. It sends a huge message because if he's there, then the expectation is Everyone should be in the building, and that's what we've been seeing from Baltimore.
It does make one wonder if the relationships look, and I mean everything runs its course. So that they were together a long time. But I mean the John Harbaugh of it all, whatever else it was, it does make you wonder behind the scenes maybe that all wasn't a little worse than we knew.
Listen, you're bringing up John Harbaugh. Who knows, right? There are other coaches on the staff running the offense, Todd. Mike, you don't know what the relationships are with the various people. I think the important part is he has new relationships being forged with new coaches who are in the building right now. Obviously, he believes in Jesse Minter, the new head coach. He believes in Declan Doyle, the new offensive coordinator. He spoke to Jesse Minter before he was hired. He had whatever role he did in that process to make sure that Jesse Minter was going to be the guy. So he obviously believes in him, and he's prioritized being in Baltimore, taking part in the offseason program, which he hasn't done before.
Vegas believes in him. D14, if I could, please. The Ravens actually are tied with the Chiefs for the second shortest odds to win the Super Bowl. Only the Rams have shorter odds to win the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, you see the Seahawks are in there, but tied with the Ravens, and then the Bills are right behind them. So I would ask you, as you look at Lamar Jackson and what he needs to do to get over the hump, you look at Josh Allen sitting there and what he needs to do to get over the hump. We mentioned Joe Burrow. Nick, which of those guys has the best team? Is it the Ravens, the Bills, the Bengals? Which of these three quarterbacks has the best team?
I feel like this is one of those broken record things that we do every offseason. And, like, it's the Ravens. It's always the Ravens. Every offseason, like, their front office is one of the best in football. Consistently, they put together one of the rosters that we are most impressed with this time of year. And often, they pan out throughout the regular season. But the leap is that the playoffs. Like, that's the leap that they all expect to make. That's the leap that they failed to make, which is why John Harbaugh is no longer there and why now it seems like even more pressure is going to fall on Lamar Jackson to be able to help this
schedule going into this season. When we look at the records based on last year's teams, the Bears have the most challenging schedule going into this year. And while the Bears are one of 8 teams to win their division last year, there could be trouble ahead because 7 of the previous 10 teams that had the hardest schedule to start the year missed the playoffs. The last one to win a playoff game was the Falcons in 2016. So people have been giving me, since the season ended, Dominique, I've had a never-ending array of people telling me the Bears are going to take a step backwards. Is this more argument that they will regress in 2026?
It certainly is more argument that they will regress, but I don't believe it. Like, I think it's possible that they may not have as many wins, they may not win the division, but I think they're going to be a better team. They've addressed some issues in the secondary with their safeties, but more importantly, they can effectively run the ball. That's one thing that they've always been able to do, or at least Ben Johnson's always been able to do, and they did incredibly well last year against some really good teams. And I have no reason to believe, as long as they got Bradbury in there to replace the Dahlman's retirement at center, I have no reason to believe that this rushing attack is going to fall off. As long as that's there, I think this team will be fine. They'll get better, and they'll be contenders in the NFC.
How different is it, D. Wood, when you step up in class like that? When all of a sudden now you're a defending division champ, you won a playoff game, you've got this tough schedule because you're playing a first-place schedule. How different is your world?
No one's going to sleep on you. Like when the Chicago Bears come across, it gets your attention. That first-place schedule is no joke. I remember, like, in New England, we won a Super Bowl. The next year, man, it felt like we were playing 16 Super Bowls because that's just the way it is. And I'm sure the Bears are going to have that type of effect. But I think the biggest thing for the Bears, you can't carry over the amount of turnovers they had last year to this year. You know, they got an inordinate amount of turnovers last year. And so how much more has this Bears defense improved? I think it's going to be a big part of it.
What's the feel coming out of Chicago, Shefty?
It's a real factor, the strength of schedule, no matter how much you want to deny it. And the Bears, to Nick's point, absolutely look like they're going to be a better team this year. It doesn't mean they have a better record. It doesn't mean they have a better season. They may have a better team, but that doesn't always translate. If we go back and look at the teams with the toughest strength of schedule, it has had an impact on teams. They lose more the next year on average than they have in previous seasons. So we'll see if the Bears can overcome it, if they're good enough to overcome it, but it's a big challenge in front of them.
I believe if Caleb Williams takes the next step forward, which I think he is more than capable of doing, you talk about like the young quarterback, young, brilliant coach combination. I think Chicago is a skyrocketing to the moon. I think they're taking the next step forward, not backward. I think the Bears are absolutely a Super Bowl contender this coming year. Next order of business for you, Neek. The San Francisco 49ers will travel over 38,000 miles this season. That is the most for any team this year. A big part of that, of course, is because they have two very long trips. They're going to Melbourne and they're going to Mexico City. The only other team traveling over 30,000 miles is the Rams, who are also going to Melbourne. But I want to ask you, Neek, just how much of an impact is all of this travel on a team? The team that travels the most miles, does that actually affect them in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to affect them in some ways. I assume the West Coast teams tend to travel a little bit more for the East Coast teams because it's a little bit more spread out. But the two international games just feels like aggressive. It's so many time zones being changed. Well, at least Australia, like that effect on a team has to have an effect on the team. And especially with the team injuries, like the swelling that takes place when you're flying and you're landing, like it takes a toll on your body. It's probably pretty hard to measure. And when you have these games that are decided by a small margin, those kind of tweaks here and there, I think, can impact the team.
Absolutely. If anyone's ever traveled to Australia, you don't regain like your sleep pattern for a while after you come back. Most traveling miles, is that a big factor for the 49ers?
Absolutely. And Nick touched on it. It's the time you're sitting on the airplane, you know, all the swelling, the dehydration, all that stuff adds up. And when you're playing a challenging schedule like the 49ers are going to play, it tends to bear out.
Listen, the 49ers play two international games this year. They play in Australia in week 1. They go back later in the season and play in Mexico City, which isn't terribly far, but it is leaving the country, and there is a process involved in that. Now, saying all that, saying that they travel more air miles than any other team, last year, two of the teams that traveled more than any other teams were the Rams and Seahawks. They were the two best teams in football, arguably. So if you're a good team, you overcome it. It's not great, it's not ideal, but great teams play well no matter